Welcome to In 5 Minutes. Today, we're unraveling the complex story of the Houthi Rebels, a group making headlines for their escalating attacks in the Red Sea. Let's dive into who they are, their origins, and why their actions matter to the world. In the heart of Yemen, a power steadily rises. The Houthis, known officially as Ansar Allah, supporters of God. This isn't just a group. It's a movement born from the depths of religious and political strife. Their story begins in the 1990s with a zealous leader, Hussein al-Houthi, igniting the flames of Zaydism, a sect of Shia Islam, long overshadowed in Yemen's Sunni-dominated landscape. Imagine a charismatic leader, al-Houthi, with a voice that resonates through the mountains of Sada. He tapped into a well of discontent. The Zaydis, feeling forgotten, even oppressed under Yemen's Sunni regime, found in him a beacon of hope. His message wasn't just religious. It was a clarion call against external influences shaping their land, especially those emanating from Saudi Arabia. Picture Yemen at the dawn of the new millennium, a nation at a crossroads, its streets echoing with the clamor for change. It was here that the Houthis' narrative found fertile ground. Enter Ali Abdullah Saleh, Yemen's iron-fisted ruler. What started as mere skirmishes with his regime soon spiraled into an all-out rebellion. The Houthis, armed with nothing but sheer determination and the legacy of their slain leader, Hussein al-Houthi, who fell in 2004, turned their grief into resistance. In this chapter of Yemen Saga, we encounter a pivotal figure, Ali Abdullah Saleh, a name synonymous with power and controversy. Ruling Yemen with an iron fist for over 3 decades, Saleh's reign was marked by political chess games and alliances that often teetered on the edge of turmoil. Saleh, a master of political survival, navigated through Yemen's complex tribal and political fabric. Under his rule, Yemen was a land of contrasts, ancient traditions grappling with modern challenges, and a society fractured by deep regional and sectarian divides. It was against this backdrop that the Houthis, initially a small group fueled by the ideals of their leader Hussein al-Houthi, found themselves at odds with Saleh's regime. What began as sporadic confrontations and protests against the government's policies, especially its alignment with the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, soon escalated into open conflict. The turning point came in 2004 with the death of Hussein al-Houthi, a moment that transformed the Houthi movement. Mourning turned into mobilization, grief into resistance. Hussein al-Houthi's demise did not weaken his movement. Instead, it catalyzed it, giving rise to a formidable force that would challenge Saleh's long-standing rule. The skirmishes rapidly transformed into a full-blown insurrection. The streets of Sada, once peaceful, became the battlegrounds for a struggle that would ripple across Yemen. The Houthis, wielding the legacy of their fallen leader as a banner, stood defiant against a regime they saw as oppressive and corrupt. For Saleh, the Houthi Rebellion posed a challenge unlike any other during his tenure. It was a conflict that would not only test his grip on power but also reshape the future of Yemen. As the dust settled on the battlefields, Yemen stood at a crossroads, its future hanging in the balance. The Houthi Rebellion was more than a fight for power. It was a reflection of a nation's struggle for identity and sovereignty in the face of internal and external pressures. The year 2014 opened up a new chapter over the skies of Sana'a, a city steeped in history, now on the brink of monumental change. In a bold and decisive stroke, the Houthis, once confined to the mountains of Sada, descended upon the capital with a force that echoed through the alleyways and ancient structures of the city. Watch closely as these determined fighters, clad in traditional attire yet armed with modern weaponry, weave their way through the streets of Sana'a. Their movement, almost poetic in its coordination, was a dance of defiance against a regime they vehemently opposed. Then, a moment that would alter the course of Yemen's history, the storming of the presidential palace. In an audacious display of power, the Houthis shattered the gates, breaking not just physical barriers but also the illusion of a stable Yemen under government control. Imagine the intensity of that day, the air thick with tension, the sounds of gunfire reverberating off the palace walls. The Houthis, once underdogs in a political chess game, now stood within the very halls of power, declaring their ascendancy. This bold move did not go unnoticed. The echoes of the palace takeover reverberated beyond Yemen's borders, drawing the gaze and ire of regional powers. It was the catalyst that spurred the Saudi-led coalition into action, a coalition determined to restore the government and curb the Houthi advance. As the sun set on Sana'a, now under Houthi control, Yemen was thrust into a deeper abyss of conflict. A nation torn, a capital seized, and a regional crisis ignited, 2014 marked the beginning of a new, turbulent chapter in Yemen's storied history. Coming next, we delve into the shadows of a conflict that transcends borders and ideologies. This isn't just Yemen's war anymore. It's a proxy battle, a chess game of regional powerhouses, and we have all been unwittingly drawn into its vortex. Watch as the once localized struggle within Yemen's borders spirals into a much larger showdown. Saudi Arabia and Iran, two regional titans, face off, not on their own soil, but in the deserts and cities of Yemen. The Houthi Rebellion, a catalyst for a much grander narrative. Each move on this chessboard is calculated, with Yemen as the playing field for a broader geopolitical struggle. But amidst this high-stakes game are the people of Yemen, whose lives and stories are overshadowed by the roaring engines of warplanes and the silent moves of diplomatic chess. This is where human tragedy meets geopolitical strategy. Stay with us as we unravel the complexities of this proxy war. Understand how Yemen, a land of ancient history and rich culture, has become the battleground for a conflict that affects us all, in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. In the heart of the Middle East, a conflict has escalated beyond national borders, morphing into a devastating proxy war. On one side, the Houthis, emboldened and backed by Iran, demonstrate their military might in formidable parades. Opposing them, the Saudi-led coalition, launching relentless airstrikes in support of the Yemeni government. The toll of this war is not just measured in military gains and losses. It's etched in the faces of civilians, caught in the crossfire of a relentless struggle. The United Nations has labeled this dire situation as the worst humanitarian crisis of our time, with millions facing famine, disease, and displacement. But the ripple effects of this conflict reach far beyond Yemen's borders. The Red Sea, a vital artery in the body of global trade, has become a new front in this war. Houthi attacks on commercial vessels here send shivers through the spine of international commerce. As these titanic ships, carriers of the world's goods, tread cautiously through these waters, the impact resonates globally. Major shipping companies, pivotal in the oil and gas supply chain, have been forced to a standstill. This isn't just a regional issue, it's a jolt to the global economy, still reeling from recent upheavals. On the 12th of May 2021, amidst the escalating tensions in Gaza, the Houthis launched a bold declaration. They claimed their aggressive maritime tactics in the Red Sea were direct reprisals against Israeli actions in Gaza. This stance was not just a military maneuver, it was a calculated political message, echoing through the Middle East. Then again, on August 3, 2022, and in recent weeks they have stepped up drone attacks as tensions flared once more in Gaza, the Houthis reiterated their stance. Every maneuver in the Red Sea sends waves across continents, affecting markets, fuel prices, and the very fabric of international trade. This is a stark reminder of how a conflict in one corner of the world can grip the entire global economy and its consequences. The story of Yemen is not just a regional drama, it's a global call to action. These declarations and actions have reverberated across the region, tapping into the deep-seated sentiments surrounding the Palestinian struggle. The Houthis, by aligning themselves with this cause, aim to transcend their local battlefields and project their influence onto a broader, more resonant stage of regional politics. In response, nations like the US and UK, in the last few days have intensified their military presence, aiming to secure this vital maritime corridor. As the lines between local grievances and regional politics blur, the Houthis' maritime attacks take on new meaning. These are not just ripples in the Red Sea, they are waves in the vast ocean of Middle Eastern geopolitics, where every action and alliance can shift the tides of regional support and opposition. This was in 5 Minutes Extended Edition. Join us next time for another deep dive into the stories shaping our world.